A Star Trek Voyager revival seems more possible now than ever, with legacy characters reappearing across the franchise and the enduring popularity of Captain Janeway. But if Paramount ever greenlights a continuation or spiritual sequel to Voyager, there's one glaring problem that demands a second chance: the show's failed villains. Despite traveling through the lawless and hostile Delta Quadrant, Voyager never fully delivered a compelling, long-term adversary that lived up to Star Trek's best antagonists. A revival has the perfect opportunity to correct this by reimagining, upgrading, or replacing the villains that never quite reached their full potential. Voyager's Delta Quadrant problem. From its very premise, Voyager promised danger. The Delta Quadrant was supposed to be uncharted, unpredictable, and unforgiving. Yet, despite introducing dozens of new species and hostile powers, most villains felt more like one-off obstacles than genuine threats. Where Deep Space Nine gave us the Dominion, and the Next Generation gave us the Borg, Voyager gave us the Kazan. The Kazan were the show's first attempt at recurring villains, but they were poorly conceived from the start. They were meant to fill the Klingon role, aggressive, fractured warriors with honor codes, but instead came off as low-tech space gangs arguing over water. Despite their constant appearances in early seasons, they never evolved beyond petty antagonists. Even when they briefly succeed in seizing Voyager in basics, it feels more like a plot convenience than a genuine payoff. A revival has a chance to redeem the Kazan, not necessarily by making them a major threat again, but by showing how they've evolved. Perhaps they've unified, developed better technology, or even become a minor power through alliance with others. Seeing the consequences of Janeway's early interference in their space would offer both closure and commentary. The Vidians. A horror story that faded too fast. If any early season villain had promise, it was the Vidians. Ravaged by the phage, the Vidians were a body-harvesting race whose horrific medical practices made them one of Voyager's most morally complex threats. They weren't evil for evil's sake. They were dying, and they did what they had to survive. But just as quickly as they were introduced, the Vidians faded from the narrative. After a few appearances in seasons 1 and 2, they vanished completely. Their potential to explore themes of desperation, disease, and bioethics went largely unrealized. A revival could reintroduce them as a society healed or still sick and worse than ever. What happens when the phage mutates or becomes a galaxy-wide epidemic? What if the Vidians have now weaponized their disease? In a post-COVID world, the Vidians could serve as timely villains, not faceless monsters, but a species with a haunting, tragic mirror to our own experiences with pandemics and healthcare ethics. Species 8472. Wasted cosmic horror. Species 8472 should have been Voyager's ultimate threat. Emerging from fluidic space, immune to the Borg, and telepathically powerful, they were Lovecraftian nightmares with a deeply alien psychology. Their design, motives, and powers hinted at the next evolutionary step for Trek villains. And then, Voyager turned them into xenophobic bureaucrats in one of the franchise's worst retcons. By the time of In the Flesh, Species 8472 had gone from unknowable horror to men in Starfleet cosplay, running simulations of Earth to prepare for an invasion that never came. Rather than deepen the mystery or highlight their uniqueness, the show domesticated them. The tension was gone. If Voyager returns, Species 8472 needs a do-over. Let's forget the peace treaty. Let them evolve into something new, a trans-dimensional threat that's impossible to reason with. Maybe fluidic space is expanding. Maybe they've changed, merged with other species, or fractured into multiple factions with competing ideologies. Let them be scary again. The Borg problem. Overuse and decline. No discussion of Voyager's villains is complete without the Borg. What began as the most terrifying enemy in TNG was diluted through overuse in Voyager. At first, their appearance in Scorpion was powerful. Voyager had to ally with its worst enemy to survive something even worse. But after the introduction of 7 of 9, the Borg became recurring tools for character drama rather than galaxy-ending threats. The Borg Queen, in particular, suffered from diminishing returns. Once an enigma,